500 Doors, your real estate podcast. Speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many, that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. Our guest today is an absolute legend here in my home market, Calgary, Alberta, and he is of service, and this is why he is on the show. And he's here not only to share his successes and his journey, but also to give you insight, because we all know success leaves clues. So today's guest is Akbar Nimji. He is a 25-year real estate professional with over, get this folks, 1 billion in sales. Akbar is a builder consultant and condo conversion and multifamily specialist. Akbar volunteers with the Aga Khan Foundation, and he has lived and worked in Kenya for 4 years in development. He has an MBA from Edinburough, Scotland, probably said that wrong, and lived in the UK. Moved to Calgary in 1974, and he's lived here ever since, and he will tell you he loves it. So let's bring Akbar in, and you guys are in for a treat. This is going to be so much fun. One of my favorite people. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you one of those people that
The jet lag, sorry.
Oh, you're jet lagged. That's right. You just got back from your manvation. Your manvation.
I
Um,
did, yes.
so okay, first, now everybody's gonna be curious. Where was your manvation? What'd you do?
So we a trip we've been planning for 30 odd years. We did Zanzibar, we did Kenya, we did South Africa. We basically did some of the hot spots in Africa, Kenya being my home, which I haven't been back to in 26 years, in fact. And South Africa is one of my favorite emerging markets. If we want to talk about an interesting market in the world, it's a very interesting place to be. I was there in 2016 and again in 2022, and you see a very big difference in all the countries, especially Kenya, after 26 years, and it was a wonderful trip. It was really a learning experience, actually.
And you got to do that with your mates from university, right?
Yes, 4 of
That
us.
is so cool. That is so cool. Um, yes, emerging markets, and they say that a lot of that is due to the accessibility to technology, and e-commerce, global e-commerce. They're seeing huge shifts in what we would deem a third world country due to the fact that they have access to the market now.
Oh,
And
totally agree. And I mean, one third of the world's population is going to be in Africa, along with India and China, and you see India and China's, mostly China's influence in Africa in an immense form, immense. And I know that at one of the African congresses, they were talking about because America had sort of pulled back into Africa, and they was wondering, well, why aren't you taking our initiatives or are allowing us back into the country? And I know that at one of the congresses there, they had said, well, we welcome you back, but China has been supporting us for the last 15, 20 years, and that was a big mistake of the West, I think.
yes,
For us.
yes. Um, y- and it's interesting because the West pulled back and then they doubled down on China. And
Mhm.
now it's an interesting
Very dynamic.
the circle of life, right? I'm all I'm seeing is holding up Simba and going, yeah, you
It
didn't
is,
get
and
it, right?
it's wonderful to see. And what was very interesting is to see the change of the younger generation in their activity and their work ethic,
Yeah.
and what, things that we do as even real estate agents, and because they're our own businesses, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to get going and to support yourselves and to get motivated every morning and to see, and to basically get out there. And these people do this every day of their lives for not as much as we would think, in terms of a return, but it's amazing what they accomplish in that
Yeah.
short period of time. So it was another relearning experience coming back from that trip to see, the work ethic, the change in the mentality in Africa, overall, and the regions from Tanzania to Kenya to the South African people, and to just see, the differences there too, because there are quite a bit of differences.
There's also I've, interviewed a gal where her and her husband and their family had I mean, she was a 5th or 6th generation American, but they had identified where her great, 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 great grandparents had originally come from, and she had relocated back to that region in Africa. And there was, there when you have that injection of education, because she went back, she's massive education, PhD in something, I can't remember, but she's a speaker globally.
Wow.
When you have that kind of injection back into a culture that has been literally starved for support,
Mhm.
it makes a huge difference. But when we talk about culture, I'm going to switch this up a bit. I want to talk about a little bit about what you do, because you are, amongst real estate agents in Calgary. I think, how many agents are there currently licensed in Calgary? There's
Oh,
20 some odd thousand,
be 20 something, yes, something of
20
that.
odd thousand,
Yeah.
and most agents know who Akbar Nimji is. So, just because, well, you've been very, very prevalent within the real estate market on multiple fronts. So walk us through what you do, and then let's pick this apart and see if we can leave a few ideas for newer agents or struggling agents to apply to their business.
Well, I think eh, well, what I do now a lot more is where I fell into dealing with builders, is to, finding lots that we could take and redevelop these regular 50-foot lots in Marda Loop that were just normal houses, and we suddenly decided to, oh, let's make them four plexes, and now we can do six plexes, now we can do eight plexes. And I think it's basically taking a lot and using sort of those real estate parameters and expanding them, and taking that and expanding that makes a really huge difference to buyers, resales, and it can continually build, and you build on that. And I think, you buy the lot, you build on it, you resell those units, and you do it again, and you do it again,
Do it again.
and whilst you're selling, you're learning, what do people want. And it's very important, I think, I find, is to really listen. That was always a thing for me, is, just shut up and just listen to what these people are telling you, because they give you so much good information, the buyers, the sellers, even just people that walk into open houses that not necessarily are specific buyers, but they give you some really interesting insights on what could be done, what may be done, what you should have done. And you learn with that, and you pass that on to your clients, and that really builds on the success. And it's something that really can continue to build with, whether it's, and I love starting with new, because I know that people say, oh, everybody wants to be a builder, and you hear that all the time, oh, it's this builder and that, and everybody wants to be a builder, but that's okay. What's wrong with that? What's, there's, we have a market right now that needs homes in
Yeah,
all.
we obviously don't have enough builders when the market is still short. United States is short 4.5 million affordable houses, and Canada matches that in that 10%, with the 10% of the market. So
Yeah,
at the half a million mark, right? So we're not quite half a million. I think we're what, 300,000, 400,000 short.
yeah, yeah.
And that's only going to escalate because we've we've increased um our numbers to offer for new Canadians.
Immigration is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And
And so
I
we're going to be running into some serious problems. But you said something in there that I think that we need to actually talk a little bit about. You learned through your open houses.
Yes. So I would say a lot through that because when you're a new agent, really I never door knocked or anything of that sort. It's
Mhm.
personally I don't think that's the way to do it. But
I'm with you.
and I think community outreach, as you're a big proponent of, is 100% a great idea to get out there and do things in the community and help put up the boards in the ice rink down the road every holiday, and do the river cleanup as we did, and things of that sort, where you get to meet people, talk to them, and then they see your open house sign. It's like, oh, I saw him at the river cleanup, or when you were putting up the boards for hockey last weekend at the hockey arena, at the hockey rink at the park behind our house. And I thought I'd come and say hello. And I don't do as much of those open houses as as I did. And
Did
I
I'm Same here. It's time to pass the baton, right? It's time to
see,
pass the baton. You do 20 years, it's time to pass the baton. I get that.
glad you're
But
saying that, because I always feel like, oh, this 20 years of that. But I have some of the amazing newer agents who love that and love meeting people and love hearing all that. And that's how I learned, is listening to what they were telling me at the open houses, or people that you would meet on the street, and they would give you so much information if you would just listen.
so we're gonna correlate this because I love my stats. Okay. So the average new agent, so the average time in the market now or in the industry is 8 years, 7 or 8 years. And then I think
Interesting.
it's like 7 years and agents die off. So when you meet agents who have been double digits and multiple double digits, I mean, that's a rarity in the industry. With that being said, a lot of those agents have come in on purely technical, like, skills, like, not skills, but marketing. I'm going to get Zillow leads. I'm going to put a Facebook ad up. And this is still part of the business. I'm not poo-pooing online leads. However, it says that you need to have 6 to 10 touch points with a person before they engage. And if you're waiting for somebody to engage when they're ready to sell, you are too late. And
Agreed.
that is why open houses and being involved in your community, because like you said, they'll come by. I always had cookies at mine. So I would have people come in for cookies and conversation. And I just want everybody to know I did, when I look back at my numbers, when we look at just hard numbers, 3% of my listings every year sold due to an open house. May not have been in that specific open house, but it was due to the relationships I cultivated throughout my open houses. And that was only the specific listings. When we looked at how many listings I got because people saw me, I would estimate 10% of my business was probably due to open houses
That's
because
huge.
people saw me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was the 5-day open house queen. I know how to work my open houses, but I bet
And it's an
everybody
art. It is an art.
it is an
You
art.
know, it's an art.
It's
Like, you need to know, like you said, you have that knack to work an open, and you can't just sit there. Like, I've been,
n-
as you probably have been, to those open houses. The realtor sort of sitting there, and it's like, hi, yeah, come on
yeah.
in.
Let me know if you need anything.
It's like, don't even go. Just leave the key by the door.
Exactly. Oh, Akbar, I used to take my kids to my open houses with me. And so
That's
they had a
great.
job. They had a job. If we were busy, their job was to count shoes to ensure that the people were accounted for. because here in Canada, folks, we all take our shoes off in the house.
Yeah.
But, so their job was to count because, we've had those real peak times where you would have tons of people coming through. But
Totally.
then on the slower days, my kids would sit there and help me make either flyers or we would play cards or
That's
something like that. The reality is I never had a bad open house. I had open houses that served different purposes within my business. But
right.
at the end of the day, my clients always were left with a fresh batch of cookies. And they were always thrilled that I took interest in serving their home and doing everything I could to gain exposure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit development because we're in interesting times and a lot of new agents are going to struggle with, we have this whole imposter syndrome where I haven't done enough deals or I'm afraid to open the conversation or any of this other stuff. And there's going to be lots of opportunities out there. There's
Yes.
lots of opportunity. I mean, I didn't even realize that car washes are considered part of the real estate world. Right? And they're actually one of the fastest growing cash flow products out there.
Mm.
But yeah, it's crazy. I
Yeah.
I just interviewed this gal they've got, $600 million in
Oh,
car washes that they've moved in the last, like, 5 years in 9 states. And
oh,
it's a 3-year return with good return.
yeah. Oh, 100% is good.
I
Very
I
good.
had no clue. I had no
I
clue.
do it all
Storage
with
lockers.
lined up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that new mint one is one of is a product out of, I think, Wyoming. That then there's a new car wash here, folks, called Mint, and I believe it's out of Wyoming is where it's Wyoming or Utah. But
Interesting.
so when we talk development, with the housing shortage and the fact that we have so many vacant commercial spaces, what are some opportunities that you think agents should be receptive to or open to or listening for that we may be seeing come on the horizon in real estate?
Well, I think definitely. I mean, well, building is going to happen, but like you said, there's all these built spaces. We could do some great redevelopment spaces with live work situation, which is a huge thing now. There's some, unfortunately, the office space, that's another whole conversation. People working from home now, and I see some of these new builds and some new condos which have the suites upstairs and on the main level, and they did a lot of that in Inglewood, if you may have remembered, in
Yeah.
the sort of the late 90s. They did a lot of those live workspaces, and I sold a couple of them right off, Ninth Avenue Southeast, where upstairs were these two-story lofts, and on the main level you could have your office, whatever you wanted it to be. You could
Yeah.
have a shop there, you could have a accounting office, an engineering office. It was purely zoned for that. And I know it was very difficult at that time for the city to actually give approvals to sort of the mixed use development. Now it's not. And
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of that. And I think it's a great way to go from things that used to be a big deal, like condo conversions, again in the
Yeah.
90s.
And you've
Which
done a lot of that, haven't
I
you?
have,
Yeah.
and it's not where it needs. It's not as lucrative as it is right now for two reasons. One is rentals are fantastic. You don't want to
Yeah.
give up rentals because there's a shortage of rentals, and you have a building, you can keep it rented and have a great cap rate.
Yeah.
Why spend the money and resell it when you can go and find a new condo down the road that there's thousands of right now,
Yeah.
especially in the inner city. But the mixed use development option to do that type of conversion is a great opportunity.
There was a building, I think it was 3 months ago in St. Louis. I think it was like a 20-story, uh, b office
Wow.
building that was listed at it was appraised at $217 million, which seems about right for a Midwest building. It was an older building, I think it was, like, in the '80s.
Okay.
So, something like 17 to 20 stories. It just sold for $9 million.
Wow, that is so cheap.
And that stuff's going on. So there's the question is are agents and you didn't relegate yourself to strictly just sales. You were in the creative space of finding solutions in real estate, which then would result in a sell. You didn't wait for Zillow to send you a lead. You
No,
went out
never,
and created. Yeah, I
never. It
never.
was
By the
like,
way, nothing against anybody who gives all their money to Zillow, but why? Seriously, seriously.
no, we don't need to. I don't think that's something that, I mean, I don't know. I know about the Zillow, but I don't think that in our environment it's necessary to use that.
Well, and I think we're moving into a very different environment because we've already seen Dallas last week. I think it was Dallas. It was somewhere in Texas. It was Dallas, Houston, one of those cities reported that they've already seen sale prices from the peak slide by something like 17%.
Wow, wow, that's a big amount.
It is a big amount from anybody who purchased there, but you got to remember it went up like
It
nearly doubled inside
true.
of a year, year and a half. So, um, with that being said, I think that I mean, I don't know, what are your thoughts? You're old school like I am, and the fact that you've been around for a long time. Not that you look old, you still look 30. Um, what are your thoughts around what do you believe are gonna be, like, ways for agents to leverage themselves to get a foothold? Because there's a lot of new people coming in because jobs have shifted, COVID changed the landscape for a lot of companies. A lot of people are looking for opportunity. Selling Sunset has shown us how easy real estate is. Sorry. I am just one of these days I'm gonna so get sued by Zillow or Selling Sunset because those are the 2 that I always pick on. But so my question is, what do you think? Give me like 3 things. If you met a brand new agent, somebody called you for coffee and they said, "Akbar, I got my license and I've tried to talk to my family and nobody's talking to me and I don't know what to do. How do I do this?" What would be the first 3 things you tell them to do?
I think the first thing is yes, go out in the community. Pick your community, go out in your community and just get to know people. Try to understand the niche that you want to be in as well, like you did with your community up, when you were originally starting. And I think that it's and you were a big success there. And I think it's important to not be all over the place. I think it's very important to stop and focus and be, this is what I know. Because when you're going into real estate, obviously you have some knowledge of something in real estate, whether it be condos, houses, commercial. You've got some sort of knowledge and expertise, even if it's in your mind, because that's where everything starts to generate from in a
Yep.
specific field. And I think it's time to basically not be all over the place. Pick a specific region, a specific product, and basically target that product. It doesn't matter who's in the area or this person, or you can say, oh, Akbar's got this area tied up, and I don't know if even I don't know if I want to go into that. It's irrelevant. It's something where you can start focusing and call Akbar and say, okay, you know what, it doesn't matter whether you're with Remax or CI or EXP, and it's you pick up the phone, which I've had people call me, and I'm just starting in the area. I see you have an open house or a new build. Would you mind if I did an open house? And that's great because I'm not really going to be doing a lot of that. And it's a great way to, again, get in to a community and get people to start recognizing you and talking to you. That would be the first thing I always tell people. Your face has to be out there. And yes, social media, but they don't know you on social media. If they
Yeah.
see you in person first and start getting to know you, that's going to be a big deal. And I think, and get involved in community events and go to the Philharmonic, go hang out at the Purple Perk on 4th Street or wherever your community is and sit there and talk to people, and I think that is a very, very big way of going to, like I do, go into a shisha bar, hang out, have a coffee, have a shisha. You meet so many people just
Yep.
walking by and talking to you. And that's how they'll recognize you more than they will if you had like a Facebook page.
I absolutely agree. And there is a space for social media within your campaign, but it is
Agreed.
one sphere. You should
Yeah,
have 5, 6, 7, 8 spheres that you're working within your business, and social media is only one, right?
agreed.
And remember, those cold conversions, folks, is point 0.4 point 0.4 to 1.2%. So that means you gotta like send something out or talk to somebody or have somebody see you 100 times before you, even if you're the best, could actually engage them.
And
So,
that you're so right about that, because I've had people. I had a listing last year, just last year, from a couple in Marteloup that called me and said to me, "We've been following your career for 15 years, and now we're ready to list our house." And I'm like, "What?"
yep,
And, I was like, and there's so many, there's so many other agents, of course, that are excellent as well. I think I'm really good, of course, but there's a lot of excellent agents in that community. But they called me, and it's exactly what you just said. Is It's just, I was there. I've been there, and I've been in the Marta Loop community, and I'm always at the whenever they do their events. I'm always sponsoring their events whenever they do their various garden parties, or they have their summer events. They have all of these little events. I'm always there in some capacity, whatever I can do to support that, the community. And they had said that, and that was, they had a lot of other choices, but they called me because I just seemed to be there all the time. And I think
yep.
that's exactly what you just said happened.
And yeah, being taking somebody's got to be the leader in the community. And at times it's not our politicians. So why not step into that space and be somebody who's a homeowner and a leader and a supporter and an advocate for the community that's going to feed your family? Um, what if I asked you the definition of community? What would that be?
A group of people who love where they live.
I love that. I love that. What books do you think every real estate agent should read? Give me one at least.
Oh, there's one that's called Being Mortal. It's kind of a really cool book, and it teaches you to, because we have ups and downs, right? As you know, and rejections, and some disloyalty and some immense loyalty, as we've experienced. And it's an interesting book. I mean, it's nothing to do with real estate per se, but it's a book that kind of basically teaches basically how to deal with human beings, and the types of different people, because we're all different. And not to be disheartened
Yeah.
by the good, and be humble with all the good stuff that happens. Disheartened by the bad, and all the good stuff that happens is something to be humble about as well. And it's a interesting book. I think people should read it.
That is a great suggestion. I'll put that on the list for sure. Um, where can people find you, follow you? Do you do any speaking? Where are you at within your career cycle? Because I know a lot of agents who hit that 25-year mark start moving into what we like the crone stage, the mentorship stage. Where are you at within that space?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I went to show a house the other day, and it was a wonderful feeling to just basically go with a client. It's like, "Oh, we got this house in Humboldt Park. We need to go see it." And it was just nice to do that. And then it was wonderful when a client called me and said, "Okay, I'm picking the kitchens for the new build. You got to come." And it was wonderful to go through and listen to the kitchen company compare to the builder, and then compare to me, as to everybody almost had three different views, as to what we should be doing. And it was interesting to have to sit there and have a compromise on this is what we need. And I really enjoyed that. I still enjoy that facet of going in and basically consulting and talking to people. And in terms of real estate mentorship, when I do get realtors calling me in terms of how to maybe deal with multiple offers, or how to deal with this client that's just not closing. And it's only not because you're forcing them to buy anything. You just need to help them organize their thoughts.
Yeah.
It can be confusing, especially if you're in a range where there's a lot of options. How can you narrow it down for them? And I think, and I do talk to people a lot. I get a lot of phone calls from agents that are starting or in the business, and they want to know, what do you do? It's basically almost, we have an issue here, how do I solve it? And I've
Yeah.
been doing a lot of that, which is interesting, it's been fun, actually. But then out of nowhere, you're still selling houses, which you need to do, and you need to be out there, and you need to hear what the buyers and sellers are saying in order for you to keep your mind fresh. So that's something you never don't forget to do that, because if you're detached
Yeah.
from what's happening in the market that changes constantly, as it's going to be to your detriment.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And just staying connected with people, hearing what they have to say and how they feel and what their perception of the world is important, because then that helps us be able to even just write down to the a general write up of a home can be
Agree.
so out of sync with what the market is wanting, and you don't know what the market's wanting if you aren't talking to the people.
Agreed.
So where can people follow you? Because you're a pretty cool cat. You have lots of great stuff, and I know agents are always looking for kind of people to take a look at and say, "Okay, I could do this on my social media, or I could do this in my community." Or do you have a specific place that you prefer to be? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram, Facebook? Where is your online hangout?
I like LinkedIn and I like Instagram. I think those are the two places that I do a lot of real estate, info. And you find me. I have a Facebook. Nimsy Real Estate has a Facebook connection through the Instagram portal too. Instagram has a lot of information on our new builds, or what we're doing, what we've done. So I think it's very interesting to sort of see that history. LinkedIn is great as well. I put some very interesting articles which are real estate and non-real estate based on there, that sometimes just make me think, on another aspect. I throw it on LinkedIn, hoping, and it's interesting. You get really different perspectives from the different platforms. So that's where you'll find me anytime.
Awesome. What would you do if you weren't a real estate agent?
Oh God, I hear that. I heard that on my trip, because everybody's like, "So we should retire. Where do we retire to? And what would you do?" And I'm thinking, yes, I am. I would think of retiring, not now, but I don't know. Maybe I sit and drink whiskey with you at the.
Just hang out. We'd be the old people sitting in the corner, just that weighing down the corner of the CPC. So,
Yeah,
um,
I,
yeah,
I I
I'm
think
not retiring. I'm
no,
evolving.
I hope not. And I don't. I think doing, and even when I was in Africa, I have these pictures on my phone of real estate, and it was, I was with my buddy, and we were at the beach, and in Zanzibar, and I was with our driver, and I was like, we were on the boat coming from one of the islands, and I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's this," because it looked like this modern house. I mean, I'm on this dhow in Zanzibar, coming from the sandbar back towards the main stone town city, and there's this weird looking light thing there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a development that somebody." I'm like, "What type of development?" So he's like, so he's explaining it to me. We get off the boat. I'm like, "Can you drive me there?" And so it's and my buddy's sitting next to me. He's like, "You're never going to retire. You're never going to
No.
retire. We're sitting here wearing nothing, and we're all full of sand and salt water, and you still want to go look at that development." And so this is where I am, and it's amazing.
You know, folks, that's what everybody should be able to say at the end of the day. It's amazing. Give us a quote. Give us a quote. What quote inspires you?
Just be real. Be real. That's the thing. Just be real. I think that's just that one word is when you're real, that's nobody can question you. That's who you are. That's what you want. That's where you're going, and that's where you've been.
Well, I don't really have anything I can top that with because that was absolutely the message we need to hear. Hold on one second. Let's see. Buddy R says, cool. That's awesome. So I don't know who Buddy R is, but Buddy R, thanks for popping by. He is
Thanks.
pretty cool. Definitely somebody to watch and follow. Excellent. All right. Akbar, thank you so much for your time and sharing the insight of one of the ways that we can build business in real estate. And at the end of the day, have a job that you love so much, have a career that you love so much that you're good to do it to your 80, 90. Take a look at Betty White, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you gotta love it. It's
Um,
it's the easiest way to love life is to love what you're doing. Alrighty. Uh, that's it for me this time, folks. If you're listening live, be sure to check over to the Real Estate Summit 2023.vfairs.com, or just message us here at the show. We'd love to see you pop by. We have a new kind of cool platform that we're testing out. So it should be interesting. Who knows? But it will be definitely informative. Until next time, folks, go out there, be good to yourself, give yourself grace and space within this business. And you know what? You can be the change you want to see. We have that power as real estate agents. Thanks for joining us here at 500 Doors Real Estate Podcast. And we're out for now. Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors Your Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share because we all know sharing is caring.